Getting very questionable mail.
Yeah, dang. Okay. All right. So let's see. Zoom says setting up your meeting for YouTube Live. I
Mhm.
don't know if it's already, I don't know at what point it
It,
switches over.
it says it is streaming now live on YouTube.
Oh, it does?
Yep.
Okay.
Over here it does.
All right. Apparently we are live. Cool.
Good.
And let me hit pause. I'm going to copy over this link to the other people who are in the other stream right now. And I will also try to delete the other one so that it doesn't. Yeah. All right. So, welcome anybody who sees this after the fact or anybody who's tuned in already super quick. This is going to be fun. We're going to be streaming our first public lesson together. Chris and I have been working together for a year now, and he's an amazing, incredible teacher, and I'm
Happy
really honored.
anniversary.
Yeah, yeah, happy anniversary. Yeah. And we're still working on some of the same things, but that is the process. That's how these things go, right? Um, like, yeah, I don't know if maybe we could, I don't know yet exactly what I want to work on today, but at least last time we did do the Carcassi again, and I love that piece. I feel like, I don't know, it's something that I'll just be playing for a very long time. Okay, so now I'm finally set up and actually ready to go. Deleted the other one. I think people will find this or not.
Okay. And
Either
then, I
way,
mean, you're recording it, so it'll be there,
exactly,
right?
exactly. Cool. All right, well, let's just have a regular lesson. I don't have chat up. Like, I might pull up chat at the end
Okay.
and answer questions and whatnot, but I'd love to just have a regular lesson.
We could take like 5 minutes at the end and just see if there are any questions and kind of move on from
That'd,
there.
that'd be perfect. I
Well, in
think.
that case, start with a scale.
All right. Okay. Yeah. So over the last few weeks, I've been starting with just open string alternation practice and then going to scales. So yeah, here's a scale. Want me to do two times or one time
No,
per note?
just the one is fine. And I'll tell you what, right off the bat, these fingers are moving much more in a uniform way today. So that's even getting better and better every week. The curvature of the M finger when you start, it's almost non-existent. And then it creeps back in a little bit, but even that is still showing a lot of progression. I wish I could tell you, and for some people, it is a switch, where it's like bang and it's done.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't the case for me and I didn't do yours is a little bit more like in here.
Uh-huh. Okay. Okay.
Mine used to be this.
Oh
So
yeah, kind of like
where
going
it
outward.
was, yeah, where the tip curved, but only because M was slightly raised when I did it.
Uh-huh.
So it looked like this rather than that. And having that tip joint flexibility, that took me a while.
Okay.
Hey cat,
She will be distracting.
it's got to make an appearance. It's a video.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the rhythm is very good, and I don't know if you can hear it, but there's a greater uniformity of your sound,
Cool.
right? So that's the key. I mean, it's like if we're doing it and let me turn my original sound on. If we're doing it and then you're hearing that uniformity so that it almost, I don't want to say that each finger sounds the same. They're always going to sound a little different, but they're real close and almost indistinguishable from one another. The
Uh-huh.
key, at least for me, was I know it's working right if it sounds a certain way.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that as you're going, especially as you get to those top strings, making sure you feel that little bit of flex in that M tip joint
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
so that
Yeah.
you can maintain that approach all the way through. But the rhythm itself is quite good, and I'm not seeing any like the fingers not moving out as much as it did
Yeah.
before. So we're seeing a lot more of that uniformity. come across. Try it with 2 notes per 2 attacks per note.
Sure.
Good. Do that on the open G string for me, just back and forth. Good. What I want you to try to do, the scale, I mean, again, it's a very similar thing to when it starts, and it's usually after your first string crossing. So what I'd like you to do is just try doing this. Take your finger on that 3rd string. We're going to pull the other fingers back just a little bit so that you can see more clearly, and also for the video's sake too. What you want to practice doing just a little bit is, without plucking, just feel the pressure apply, and then you feel that flexibility. Yeah. It's not going to fully collapse, so when we think about what a collapsing joint does, is this, right? So it's not going to do that.
Okay, so I don't want that.
Right, so we don't want that whole thing. If it compresses, it'll look like this.
Okay.
Right? It's where it's completely flopped out, right?
Okay.
What we're looking for is that slight springiness in that tip joint, so that when you pluck, there's that little bit of some people call it flex or play, right, in it. So if you are playing loud, it doesn't mean that we tighten that tip joint. It just means that we push it a little bit further down. So if I'm going to pluck a soft note, you'll see very little motion in that tip joint.
Okay.
But it's that little bit of flex as it goes through. So if you're preparing the finger and then preloading it, meaning that I'm going to decide how loud I want that right off the bat. Okay, I want it to be soft, so I'm not putting too much in it, and you'll notice very little bit of that play in that tip joint as it goes through. If I'm going to play a loud note, you'll notice more, but not enough for that finger tip to collapse fully. The thumb collapse would be like this.
Yeah, I get
right?
that a lot still, but I'm trying to work on it.
That has a little bit more of an anatomical part to it, is that thumb has the ability to hyperextend, like mine does too, right? So for years it was this, right?
Yeah.
And the development of that, like we've been working on that, and you can already see that in a lot of cases, your thumb stroke, you're getting more activity from that tip joint. And I just put new strings on this morning, so I'm really out of tune. But it's like when we start playing, we'll notice that there's that banana thumb. It's just a hyperextension, meaning it's flexible. You can do it. You don't have to try to do it, right? Some people can't do that. Good for them. For those of us who can, it just means that we have to develop that tip joint more. This one, when it's curved like that and we have a difficult time loosening that tip joint, it can be because it's overdeveloped. Meaning that, you did that for a really long time, and we talked about this before, if you do a lot of gripping motions like baseball or gymnastics where you're gripping a bar, or mechanics, so like their knuckles are all very overdeveloped from doing that, so it becomes harder to allow those tip joints to relax. So just by taking a few minutes and just like, again, first part of your day, right? So if you're just getting your fingers rolling and you're just doing strokes, right? Take a little time and just feel the finger on the string, and what does it feel like when you literally kind of wiggle it?
Right. Okay.
And that way, that sensation kind of gets baked in, and that's what we're looking for as much as you can, right? And I wouldn't worry about going too far with it. It's like, I don't. If it collapsed, you'd know.
Sorry.
It's all right.
Chewing my camera cable.
That would be bad.
Man's attention. Okay. All right. So sounds great. So always, every day, that's like the first thing to.
Yeah, I mean,
be acquaint with the guitar almost. Like
you can look at it at the first thing that you do as kind of setting the standard for what the rest of your sessions can be like. It's an insurance policy, not a guarantee, you know?
Right.
So that if I'm feeling particularly tight when I pick up the guitar, that anything I can do in the beginning to start creating the awareness I need throughout the technical work, because we want to build that to go into the technical work, and then what we do in the technical work to then build into your repertoire. And sometimes it has to be very active, and sometimes it's really passive, like 30% is going to come with you maybe automatically. So what you can do is just take a minute, like when we talk about that first basic exercise where we plant all 4 fingers on the strings and then just pluck our free strokes like that. You can just spend a little bit of time, push the string down, feel that play in that tip joint as you go through. And then M being the more awkward one, but you can also feel it more as it goes through, right?
Yeah.
And then when you're alternating on a string, just do it 1 finger at a time. So if it's I first, and then M, feel the wiggle, pluck,
Right.
prepare, feel the wiggle. So that you start enjoying that moment when you stop that string. And then what we can do is kind of apply it to your scale. So prepare, like just do 1 note at a time, but feel the wiggle on M and then pluck. Feel the wiggle on I, then pluck. Feel the wiggle on M and go up the scale that way. Try it and see what happens. It already looks more relaxed. And if you bump into a string like you did, remember that that's your arm placement, not a bad finger motion, right?
Right. I have a harder time feeling the wiggle on the I finger, I'd say. Like,
that's not uncommon. Because when you think about that finger in particular, that's what every, like mouse clicks, what everything, you know, that's a pretty developed joint, you know?
I see.
But you don't have, it's not overly so to a point where it's curving and clawing, right?
Yeah.
That already looks better. When you bump into a string like that, that's actually a good free stroke. Like, if you want to develop a warm sounding free stroke, you're going to try to go as low as you can go to the next string, and then just adjust your position so you miss it, right? So a free stroke is that, and then if I put my arm in the right place, I won't bump into it, right? Same thing like when we're doing your tremolo. If we bump into a string, most of the time it's because our arm isn't positioned properly to get the kind of accuracy we want, so we end up bumping into stuff.
Right.
That's all. So in this case, if you bump a string, that's totally cool. And that's one thing too you can try doing with your middle fingers. Put it on the first string. Feel that little bit of wiggle in the finger.
Sorry,
And then, that's all right. And then swipe 2 strings. Just like that. And that sensation is where it comes from. It feels kind of strange when you're really focusing on it. But that's how, when you want a warm free stroke sound, you notice with rest strokes you don't have that particular issue. I mean, you do, because the angle of your hand has changed because your arm placement, to the point where you're pushing right through. You can't curve. You know, if you tighten up that tip joint, you're not going to make it through the string. It just kind of hooks.
Yeah.
That's why free strokes are so tough to do well. Is that, you know, feeling that flexibility in the tip joint, you know?
Yeah.
And that's really it. So you might try some swipes of each finger, and then just play the...
Both.
Yeah.
2 strings like that.
Yep. 2. You could go 3 if you wanted to. Then, when you change the position of your arm so that your knuckle placement is above or in front of the string you're playing, you'll miss it. Yeah. And so now if the finger's behaving the same way, that's how we get more of that follow through of the big knuckle, but also the looseness of that tip joint. If it's too loose, you'll get a swipe, and if it's too tight, you get that much thinner tone, and that becomes the key. So as you're playing, when you hear and all I did was tighten that tip joint. That's it. Didn't change my hand position, nothing. It's just this or that's it. It already looks good. So try doing that where you this should be maybe every day when you're just doing one note per string. When you're on the string with the right hand, feel the wiggle. The cool thing is as you started doing it, you started doing vibrato.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's kind of symmetrical. You're wiggling this and shaking that. So that's fine, but it's really just spend enough time, then push through. Place the next note, then push through. Maybe try it one more time. Just.
I'm also going to record it just in case we have any sort of stream difficulty. Or anything.
Okay.
I just realized.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
So spend more time on that string. Feel the wiggle. Like, don't even play. Just feel that finger kind of wiggle. That's it.
Right.
That's it. There you go. Good. Now stop on the string and don't play. Just feel it wiggle, then pluck. So like a whole rest of wiggle.
Wait. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, now the middle finger I can even see is far looser as you go.
Yeah, I feel it's so much looser than the index finger.
So with I, take even more time to just become aware of that wiggle.
Yeah.
We need to think of a better term than the wiggle.
Flex. Or
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like, if you think flex, we think this, like grip.
I guess, yeah.
You know,
yeah,
this is the anti-flex.
Right.
Yeah. You'll also notice that as you do it, there may be small, and I mean really small adjustments in a nail that you may feel need to happen. You don't have to go nail crazy. But when you're doing this, you may feel like with I, that all of a sudden I doesn't want to go through the string as much as it did. And that's where just taking some of that sandpaper on the string and going through it like that might give you better clearance. But that's a lot better. I know it's frustrating because you want to be, getting to a point where you're moving faster. Right. But any faster than this, and all you do is keep reinforcing that, Right. So when we talk about the technique in RCM 9, it's like those are good goalposts to have. How do we get there? We want to make sure we're bringing all this with us. So if you could do like 2 notes that are really loose without the curvature, and then bring in 3 notes starting on different fingers like IMI and then MIM. Right. Now you're starting to set that in motion. Like how many notes can you go before that sensation goes away? Right? And that's the big part is that to be able the discipline part, like I think we talked about this back in the day. The difference between like big D discipline and little D discipline. The little D discipline, the big D discipline is just getting your guitar out and sitting down for hours and getting it done. But the little D discipline, the stuff we don't think about, is the ability to say, if I do this, add time as the ingredient, and then I will be somewhere. But everybody, it's different. Sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. But we get there. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing that we have to make sure that we're not then being counterproductive by, for an extended period of time, practicing where we're not comfortable. If you always want to dip your toe in the water and say, well, let me see, how does it work? How well can I go? Great. but then knowing, okay, I dipped my toe in the fast speed. Now let me go back to doing this so that you can stay in that comfort zone, so to speak.
Yeah.
Cool. It's coming.
Okay. Cool.
It's coming.
Awesome.
You want to hit Carcassi now?
Maybe. Yeah. Let's see. I want to. Yeah. Let's do Carcassi.
Okay.
That sounds great. So yeah, we picked it up again last week after a while away from it, and then I continued practicing it a bit more of the last week. I created like some open string diagrams, like the ones that I showed you. And that's been fun to practice. Changed a few fingerings. Yeah, let's just do it. Oh, and I just realized I'm not logging time to Mujo, so let's start the time. Here is Carcassi 14. Where's my tuner though? Should have tuned. I was doing Vals practice earlier. Cool.
Good. Pretty accurate all the way across the board. Measure 18, watch out. The second G is still a G sharp. And I think that was probably just a little accident, not a wrong note. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that is. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Small thing, but pretty darn accurate. The rhythm's good all the way across the board. We are going to talk about what some of the things you're doing expressively with it. Studies can be approached from a few different ways, but I like to think about them in two dimensions. One, and the most fun, is a piece. It's a piece of music, right? Mm-hmm. I know when I was in school earlier, we had so many studies. They were kind of dished out like, here's 100 math problems for homework.
Yeah.
And when you have that many, it is difficult to view them as musical entities rather than just, I'm just going to be thinking of technique. So we have to kind of think about it as both. Is that this is what we want to do with large pieces, but at the same time, we just have a lot less content. It's one page rather than 10 or whatever. So we can apply directly what we do in our scales and our arpeggios to the studies, and then from the studies to the rep.
Right.
The thing that I want to do with you is, one, work on it in a single dimension of little to no expression.
Okay.
Just to kind of check out the slate to see, hey, are there areas where I'm struggling? 'Cause sometimes our expression can hide stuff. Like maybe we're not counting, or maybe, I'm always pulling back on beat 4. These kinds of things. So I want you to play it straight as if you were with a metronome, no expression,
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
Just typewriter. I hate it, but like a typewriter.
Yeah, typewriter. Okay, sounds good.
Now, what do you think? Other than the fact that it's not fun to do and it doesn't sound very good to listen to for enjoyment, right?
Yeah, I think it highlighted like to me it's an inherently hard little part of this segment. Like when you shift up to 10th position, it highlighted something there. Like I think I missed the M finger like slightly. Like I think it highlighted that I didn't like probably shift the arm up enough. That's my guess, but
It might be that it didn't go up enough, or it just wasn't exactly in the prime spot. You know what I mean? It's like that illuminates. Say, oh, well, maybe I'm playing with time there to accommodate. You know what I mean? And that is the only reason that I do that. Like metronomes are important, and I think that we use them as tools. But the problem is that metronomes don't breathe and they don't phrase.
yeah.
So unless you're going to develop a Mujo 2 where you can program a phrase shape in it, and now I can play with that.
I actually very much want to do that.
Well, you remember when I showed you in that Logic file what rubato looks like?
Yeah.
If there was a way to program a metronome to phrase the way you want to, so it will. But now we're kind of in that case, like we'll just ask AI to do it or whatever, right? So it showed two things. It showed one that the shift has an issue, but it also shows another thing is that there are a couple spots where maybe you're leaving a finger down. So now we get three voices.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Right? Now I got to tune too because new strings.
Yeah. That would be.
Yeah. So at this point, you can leave three down, but release it or just let it go.
Right. Like a left hand, like mute, kind of.
Yeah, you can leave it. That's a little more involved than just letting go. So I would experiment of just letting it go and hover above the string.
Yeah. When you say hover over the string, are you touching the string at all, or like literally above?
It's literally right above it. So there's about,
Okay.
I don't know, maybe a quarter inch of space before I touch that string.
Okay.
So if you were to see it from this angle, this is a little weird.
Yeah.
So it's right there ready for action on the way down. It's a little moment. It's not a big deal, but if we're doing it in enough spaces, enough places throughout a piece, especially if you're dealing with Bach, now voices start getting added.
Yeah.
Unintentionally. I mean, it sounds good, right? Why would we not want to do that? Right. And now all of a sudden it's like, wow, that two voice thing has four ringing. So in this case, so as you come up, let me check the fingering you're doing here.
Yeah, I haven't seen one.
So you're going to that F sharp?
Yeah.
Or are you going up the second string?
Three.
Yeah. So let's take a look at what the right arm needs to do. So if we're comfortable playing on the third string, right? We've got to go forward for the first string. And then I is kind of perfectly set up for the second string. So we need to make one adjustment with the arm just so that I can come back to the third. Right? Yeah, so when you pluck the open E string with M, I is kind of primed to play the second string.
Okay.
But we need the third.
Yes, I is primed for the third string there.
So that we need to bring that arm back slightly. Sorry. So just from here, it's just that. So actually the pluck allows for that to land.
I think that's one thing where I decided to use A on that open E, because
Okay.
then you don't shift up and then back down, I think.
Right, if you use A, then I is primed
Yeah.
for the third string. You could do that.
I mean, you still shift back a little bit because I have I on the D. What is it?
Well, just try doing that for a second. Do I on your second string,
Right.
then A on your first string, and then I should just fall right back to the third because they're just kind of aligned that way. So if you have I, A, you might not notice anything significant in the right arm.
Okay. I mean, I always think of it as like if I's on the second string here, then it would return when it's like relaxed back to the second string, and so then I have to move the arm.
Depends on where that arm is. So it's situational.
Uh-huh.
So if you're going M, I, let me see, you're going I, M, I, A. You may notice you don't have to adjust the arm at all.
Yeah.
If you do, make the adjustment. Like if you find you keep missing it, make the adjustment. So if I'm going up and I'm doing I, M, I make the adjustment to the second string with my arm. I, M, I, A. But I just fell really comfortably to the third string, so I didn't have to make an adjustment.
Okay.
So if you need to, you do one, right?
Okay.
And
Right.
what do we mean? And this you know, but for any of the viewers, what we're talking about with arm adjustment is so that we can have one hand position that's going across all the strings. You think about the arm as like the arm on a phonograph, on a record player, and this is your needle. So anytime we're moving, the fingers are really going to do the same thing regardless of what string you're playing on. So if I want to play on the third string, I need to make sure that my index finger and arm are aligned properly. This way I'm not reaching for things and changing the angle of the fingers. That's all we're talking about. So as you go, if you need to make an adjustment where the arm comes back to place the first index finger, great. If not, just stay there. Right? And I think that that's fine. So we've got this. Just to make sure that you have nice, clear two voices.
Right.
And then taking that scale, right? And now that you can just go through it without any kind of rhythmic variance. But now that you can do that, now it's like, what do you want to do musically? Maybe you want to play with a little rubato in there. That's certainly fine. Because you were doing this. Let me see. Where there's a slight tenuto on the G sharp. I think that's fine. So you should add that in. But now you know you don't have to do that here. You can just go straight, like a straight line. Right? That's what you're trying to get to. Yeah. So that way the shift now isn't impacting the interpretation.
Right. The like any kind of pullback or rubato is not like a concealer there. It's like intentional.
It's intentional. Because we know that, like in some of the pieces that you do, it's like, oh wait, I've got to pull back there. I have to roll this chord, otherwise something happens, right? So that when we exercise our expression, maybe that's a spot where you have to. But if it's a spot you don't have to, now you're choosing how to shape a line rather than I'm stuck with this particular shape.
Yeah.
So as you go on into the thing and you start dealing with the rhetoric between the top and the bottom voice, now ask yourself, how long do you want some of those notes to ring, right? So, oh gosh, sorry. Right? I'm going to let that D ring a little bit longer than it's written. Because if I do what's on the page, it's kind of, it cuts off a little, I don't know, it's a little too articulate, right? So let that D ring maybe a quarter note.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Same thing on the low E. Do it as written to get your damping, and then decide.
Wait. That D there, right?
No, the D here. If we play that as an honest eighth note,
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Okay.
so technically we would stop it when we play the low D, right? But I like letting it bleed a little bit over it. And then let go, right?
Okay. My fingering is not set up for that now, and that's so because I'm using 3 at the moment.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
And then you can lose it when you
Other-
you can play the C sharp and then let go.
I could shift 2 up from the.
No. You don't have to go through all that. You keep your fingering. It's just a question of how much longer you're going to let it ring. So here it is, like just as it's written.
Okay.
And
right.
you're doing it. Now let it go. So essentially you're holding it one more 16th note.
Right. Okay.
I don't mean to measure it that way, but off or off. So I'm going to let it ring that extra 16th just so that it creates more of a two-voice conversation, and it doesn't end so abruptly.
Yeah.
It's a taper. You know, if you were a flute player, you're tapering a note.
Right.
You're just giving it a little bit more life. Same thing here.
Yeah.
Right? You could let it... Yeah, so it's just kind of deciding how you want that last note to end.
Yeah.
That's more musical in terms of our discussion. We're talking more interpretively, but it correlates directly back to when am I damping that note?
Yeah.
Which, that's why it's just like we try not to view it just in a musical or just a technical dimension. The technique serves the expression, right?
Yeah.
But every once in a while, okay, I'm just going to play this thing straight with a metronome on, right? Again, as an example to say, oh, it illuminates certain maybe things I'm not paying attention to. That's all. I don't stay there very long, right? Mm-hmm. So this way you're ending some of those and you'll end up with a very, I don't know, cool texture at the ends of... something like this. Where it's just a bump. And if you were singing that line, you'd at least just let it dum, dum. Like it would just kind of fade on that. Feels a little bit more, it sounds more natural. We just have to decide where we want to stop it. Because otherwise, you would do the opposite. Sorry, my furnace just kicked on. You'd have notes just ringing all the time. Right? And so the open strings are the ones we got to be careful of.
Right.
Small thing, but it's coming along nicely. I wouldn't go any faster. In fact, you'd probably go a little slower.
Okay.
And then when you're going to... work on playing or performing the study, then work like the speed you're working at. I think is a good speed. It could be a little faster, but it's allegro moderato, not allegro. So to me, you're just giving me a little bit more of the moderato.
Yeah.
It's a fine tempo. You know, good.
first, how much time do you have today? Could we do
I'm
maybe
good.
an
Yeah, we can go an hour and a half. That's fine.
hour and a half? Okay, awesome. Let's see. So, two other questions or conversations, I guess, are plans for RCM 9. Just checking in on that. And then the first of those pieces is the Barrios Vals 3, which we've been working on for the last month or so, and we could check in on that. Yeah, I think that's the first of my pieces that I want to work on, and
Hmm.
possibly I could use the Villa-Lobos Etude 1. Like, that is an option, but I feel like I'd rather work on one of the other ones. I don't know. Yeah. The most limiting factor I feel would be technique. Do you have the PDFs?
Yes, I have the syllabus pulled up right now.
Okay, you do. Cool. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to like set any kind of like arbitrary like timeline or like say like I want to try to get it done in a year like or anything. Like I figure we just keep working, until everything is ready. Like at this level, but the question is like, should I be putting all of my energy and time into these pieces, or like, or is there enough development left in the technique to where like I should learn more pieces along the way, if that makes sense.
It
Or
it does, and timelines. Whenever we're creating them, when we haven't done something successfully or something new, they all feel arbitrary,
yeah,
right? Because we don't have a real basis for knowing how long that's going to take based on how efficiently I work and how many hours I'm putting in a day.
right, right,
Right? That's where it's kind of like, I think you could do this in this amount of time. So, for instance, when I told you, hey, Vols 3, you'll be able to play that thing straight through in about a month, and that's where you are.
yeah, yeah,
So, at that point, we've got certain issues we continue to work on and interpretive and expressive ideas. That's where you want to spend your time, for me.
yeah, yeah,
I want to learn a piece as quickly, not hastily, but quickly as I can so I can get to the fun part, which is
yeah.
expressing myself and playing with ideas,
Uh huh.
knowing that if there is a deadline, it's way over there.
Yeah, yeah.
The
Uh-huh.
worst feeling in the world is you got 2 weeks to learn this concerto and rehearse it and go.
Yeah, yeah.
That's not a good feeling. So hopefully there's lots of zeros that come with that feeling, right? Because why would anyone do that to themselves for free? But I think we talked about doing Vols 3,
Uh-huh.
and then there were one or two others from list C, from B
Yeah,
or
so
C.
I just took a look through the the list B, the classical
Hmm.
era. That one is the biggest question mark, I feel, to me. I was listening a lot to this Diabelli Sonata,
Hmm.
but it turns out I was listening to the wrong one. I was
Okay.
listening to Sonata 2 or something. Yeah, it was like Op 29 number 2, not Op 29 number 1. So I just
Gotcha.
found the right one this morning, and I like it a lot too, but now I'm like a little less, even less attached to that one. So I don't know if you have any favorites from that list too.
I'll tell you, on list B, there's a ton of Giuliani, but the last one, Opus 71, number 3,
Okay,
he
okay.
wrote three. He wrote a lot of sonatinas, but a collection of three.
Uh-huh.
And number 3 is the most interesting one to me.
Okay.
And it's
Okay.
a really nice piece of music. It's small and
Uh-huh.
it's, straight ahead. I mean, it's late classic era sounding stuff with little elements of just straight ahead classic era.
Okay.
I believe Adam Holtzman might have recorded that on his
Okay.
first album, Aquarelle.
Okay.
I think that's the record. I'll check. And I mean, Adam, this is a good recording of it. I'm sure on Naxos they've gotten to this in the Giuliani collection by now.
Uh-huh.
So I'll look and see if I can find. And that's what the ZRB is, that just edition Zerboni, I think,
Okay.
where it
Yeah.
says
In the back, it would.
is
Uh,
there a guide to what that means?
yeah, there's like
Okay.
somewhere like some sort of like
I
code.
think that's, yeah, because we determined Mel is for Mel Bay. So ZRB would be addition to Zerboni.
It is Zerboni. Yeah, that's right. Hmm.
And so that's a good piece. It's got a really beautiful first movement. Um,
Cool.
so it's a lot of fun. And it's maybe less commitment in
Uh-huh.
certain regards because it's
Okay.
smaller movements than one big thing like the Magic Flute Variations, Julie. Like those are bigger
Yeah.
works, and
So,
you feel a little weird only doing a few.
uh-huh, right. So I mishear this? I don't remember if it was from you or somebody else. Like, this is a different Magic Flute Mozart variations than the really famous because
Yeah, the
the
famous one
the
is Soar.
Soar. Yeah, that's a Soar
Yep.
one, right? That a lot of people play. I
Yeah.
haven't heard this Giuliani version. I think I had a hard time finding it.
When you see the big W, little O, big O,
Uh huh.
that means without opus. So there's no opus number, the OP.
Oh, okay. I
So a
see.
lot of times these are pieces that once they've done, like here, we've got everything that Soar ever wrote.
Mm-hmm.
And then Brian Jeffries did the addition, and then Pepe Romero finds this one Soar piece.
Yeah.
So it means it's without opus number. So either the composer didn't write one down or after the fact,
Mm-hmm.
and we've got this collection that didn't end up being a part of it.
Yeah.
That's all. So yeah, I'd go with Opus 71 number 3. I just a little biased. I happen to like that one.
Cool. I'll check it
Um,
out.
and then do you need one off of A?
So I'm leaning towards the Bach 995 Allemande.
Okay,
Um,
and I think I gave you did I give you Gilia's fingerings to that?
I think so. Yeah, I
Okay.
think I think I got those. Yeah.
This one has the Kuntz edition listed.
Uh-huh. Hmm. Hmm.
Um, so unless there are any objections,
No.
Frank's work's great. I mean, I played from those, but Gilia plays the hell out of this.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
haven't played it for him, go with these fingerings. I just my 2 cents.
Cool.
So if you're allowed to graduate playing from another edition, awesome. If not, okay, then we'll do the Kuntz.
Uh-huh.
So that takes care of A, B, and
C
D,
is the
C.
Yeah, C is Vals, the Barrios Vals, I believe. Yeah. Um, and then in D, I'm leaning toward the Villa-Lobos Prelude 5.
Okay.
I feel like it's a very like classic pedagogical like experience, like a rite of passage to
Mhm.
learn the preludes and the etudes.
Absolutely.
So yeah, yeah.
So from Prelude 5, it's talking about the Escher
Uh-huh.
edition. And certainly you can do that if you have to stay stuck to it. But the Zagante edition, I think, it's newer. I don't know if
Yeah.
this took that into account.
They don't, yeah, they definitely don't require like a specific edition. I think
Okay.
that's just like a recommendation or like a yeah, like
Okay.
a like a
I would do
recommendation.
the Zagante edition of it. But I think that's a good spread. And I think it's realistic. So similar to how long did it take, 4 weeks, give or take, on Vols 3?
Uh-huh.
Prelude 5, similar. Might be 3, might be 5, but it's in that 4 week ballpark.
Okay.
So within a month, you could say, hey, if I work this many hours a day like you're doing,
Yeah.
here's the result I can anticipate.
Okay.
How do we know that? Well, part of it is, if there are certain factors, if I say, hey, you're practicing, you're a major, you're practicing 4 hours a day, you can learn that in a week
Mm-hmm.
because you're
Mm-hmm.
looking at essentially 20 hours of work.
Right. Right.
We take that based on, hey, well, here's what, when you're in school as an undergrad, here's what you would do, come in with that in a week. Won't be performance ready, but they'll be able to play it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if I'm doing 2 hours a day,
Mm-hmm.
then you can anticipate 2 weeks. If I'm doing an hour a day on it, you can anticipate
Yeah.
20 days on it. Yeah, they're general. And it's not the
Yeah.
same for every piece,
Mm-hmm.
you know? You could learn 5 Bach movements in the same span of time. You would learn one prelude, depending on what it is. So it's very specific, but I think that's a good spread. So if Prelude 5 is the one that you want to invest yourself in next, you can anticipate that you'll be playing that within the span of 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
If you wanted to work on the Giuliani and the Villa-Lobos simultaneously,
Hmm.
just extend that deadline,
Right.
you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely. Right. Yeah,
And
my thought is like do like kind of like a rough first pass, like more or less like what I did with the Vals
Mhm.
3, and continue practicing that and continue developing it, and like while I start picking up the other pieces. Um,
So as you now it's there are different hierarchies. So one is just new music. I'm in the learning phase of this piece.
mhm.
Once you can play the piece, now you've entered into the maintain and improve.
Right. Right.
There are two. I need time to maintain it
Hmm.
and time to improve it. So if it's a day that I'm not working on that piece, I'm just going to play it through.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
you say, hey, what is it, a 4 minute piece? Then 4 minutes of just playing it through. That's my maintenance on that piece for that day. Tomorrow, it's maintain and improve. And
Yeah.
that's where you dedicate more time.
Right. I
Yeah.
found like a nice little, in my mind, it's like a hack or something with my live streams where at the end of each stream, I tend to try to play a piece of music so that it's not just like super grindy, in the weeds practice the
Mhm.
whole time. It's like play something at the end. And I'm often playing something at the end that is just maintenance
Yeah.
of like an older piece, um, which is nice. And like kind of the vice versa, like opening up with a performance of usually an easier etude like Brower 6 or something
Mhm.
to like get the fingers moving. But
It's always a good idea to check in. Like just sit down and play the piece.
yeah,
Where is it? Is it, oh,
right,
great, it's just where I left it, or it's not exactly where I thought it was. And that's going to be a day where I work on the improvement part.
right,
But that's how you are able to maintain certain pieces, keep them simmering while you're learning others.
yeah,
You
hmm,
know, it's too very simple and very easy, I should say, to kind of fall into, full steam ahead on this piece, and this one ends
yeah,
up, you know, like stock market is up, it's down. That way we want to just say, hey, let's play it through.
right.
So I think that that's good. If you need any copies of those scores with fingerings, let me know. But I think other than Prelude
Okay,
5, I know I'll give you the fingerings for the Giuliani, but you
okay,
want to get that edition that they're asking for.
yeah, I will. Yeah,
Okay,
okay, and I'm
good. You want to play some Barrios?
yeah, I would love to. But quickly on
Hmm.
etudes, actually,
Yeah.
because I have to select two etudes.
Oh, sorry.
There's the Villa-Lobos. There's like five options: 1, 4, 6, 10, and 11. So I've learned one, so I could just use that. But I think in the amount of time left, and like at 2 hours a day, um, like I don't want to set an arbitrary deadline, but mentally, I think it's good to like have a ballpark thought of maybe a year or so. Um, but really, the most
For the
important thing
whole
is just for
thing.
my development. Like, well, I don't have to do all of those. It's just one of those five options. I'm, I don't know. I'm thinking. I think I liked 6 or 4 or something, but
6 is a good one, and obviously 11 is as well.
yeah, yeah. 11 is really cool, I think.
I'd say that. I mean, you pick 6
Yeah.
or 11
Uh-huh. Okay.
if you were going to add another one.
Right. Okay.
11, you're going to get a lot of mileage out of,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Because it
a lot of
hits
mileage.
both, or like all sorts of technique, right? In 11, it's not singular
Well, you
focus
get
on.
repeated. The big thing, I know the hardest part for me was the repeated IM chords.
Okay.
That was
Yeah.
harder than the arpeggios.
Uh-huh.
The PIM AMI arpeggio, once you get that thing cooking, it's not so bad, except sometimes you have to hit 2 or 3 strings with your thumb. So it's like doing PIM AMI, except now you've got this extra responsibility,
Yeah. Okay.
right? Um, but it's also just a beautiful piece of music. So it's kind of like, which one do you like the best between 6 or 11 or 10?
Right.
Because that way there's going to be a little bit more of a desire factor
Yeah.
in it for you. But
Even
once you
those
play 11, man, 11 just stays a part of your life.
really, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I hear a lot of people like keeping that as part of their concert
Oh, it's
repertoire.
great.
Yeah.
It's great.
And then like for a secondary composer, because it as part of the exam, it needs to be two different composers
Hmm.
contrasting something or other, contrasting, technically contrasting etudes, but they're not very strict about checking on that. I've done one Regondi in the past,
Hmm.
so I'm kind of tempted to like continue so that I'm collecting like multiple from the same composer. And
I'm
then
looking up the cost right now because I want to see which one number 25 is.
okay, uh huh,
That's the Terence Hell. Okay. 25 is a good one.
okay, I'll check
But
that.
I'm just kind of scanning through. 22 is the one I teach the most just because it's like a damping nightmare.
Yeah, cost is classical era. Is that right?
Romantic French.
Rem-
Mhm.
Okay, romantic. Okay, check that out. I played one Garcia etude a few years ago, but
Those are a lot of fun.
yeah, I really liked the last one. It was like homage to Laro, I believe. Um, yeah.
Well, I'd say that if you did 17 or 18 of the coast or Opus 48 out of the Giuliani, you get some really good ones.
Okay. Wait, which ones are the Giuliani?
I see Opus 48.
Okay. Yes. Just yeah, give those a listen.
Yeah, and just kind of decide you've got, it looks like you've got two to choose from, 15
Hmm.
and 23.
Yeah.
You're good.
Okay.
The Presti Etudes, the first one, I think you really enjoy.
Okay. Cool.
And certainly the SOAR studies.
Yeah, I haven't done any source studies.
Those should definitely, if you're going to do the like the Segovia SOAR 20,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like when we think of SOAR study 5, it's not study 5 in the SOAR catalog.
Oh,
That's a Segovia number. It has its own, he took his most favorite ones or the ones he used the most and then just
right.
numbered them 1 through 20.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, so you pick one of the Villa-Lobos and then Coast 17, 18, any of the Giuliani or any of the SOAR.
Okay. Okay. We'll figure it out. Sounds good. And
That's a
then
good place to start.
okay, cool. And then yeah, we'll talk more about the technique requirements and whatnot. And at some point, I want to check in on arpeggio technique because I feel we haven't in a while. Maybe like I think
Well, we've been doing it in the Villa
yeah,
Lobos, but we haven't been doing like PIAs and PMIs. So there are
right,
some that we haven't touched on, but a lot we've been dealing with through your other pieces in your studies.
yeah, right,
This,
absolutely.
it, the way that I approach this and what I would recommend you do is, we talked about doing a weekly or daily split
Uh huh.
so that you can cover all the basic arpeggio groups throughout a week.
Right.
Right? So if you're thinking arpeggios, the way, I mean, I maybe group them a little differently than the RCM,
Uh
but
huh.
PMI, PIM, PIA, PAI,
Yeah.
PIMA, PAMI,
Right.
PIMAMI.
See
And
those? Yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Those are the ones I'm practicing almost every day. I tend to choose one of the three-note arpeggios and
Hmm.
one of the four-note arpeggios.
Good.
And I'm also counting like tremolo patterns as those four-note arpeggios.
Yep.
They're, I mean, kind of arpeggios on a single string,
Well, it
but
is. It's PAMI, right? So the same
yeah,
day you're doing your PAMI can also be a tremolo day, but you've been working on recuerdo, so every day was a tremolo day.
yeah, yeah,
Um, And as long as you've got it laid out in a way where throughout the week,
Mm-hmm.
depending on your amount of time investment, in 1 week, I should be able to get through all of them if you're doing the Giuliani 120
Yeah. Uh-huh.
as your template, and then having studies that will work on each one of those studies or exercises. They don't have to be studies per se. They can be exercises from the Aguado, from the SOAR, from the Giuliani, from any of these places, right?
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
next
I guess
week,
like
why don't we hit your arpeggios a little bit more than the scales like we did today?
yeah. Yeah, like next time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds great. Uh, and yeah, those patterns feel way more relevant, I guess, to like a lot of music. Whereas I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if you saw the ones that are in RCM9, they feel very kind of obscure, almost. Like some of them are like,
They're relevant. They're taken
yeah.
from a lot of the repertoire that's in there,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
right? So
There.
there's a relationship. It's like, oh, that particular arpeggio you're going to see in that Villa-Lobos Etude. That particular etude you're going to see in that Brouwer
Okay.
piece. So they're relevant, but when you just see them kind of on their face,
Yeah.
it's like, well, why am I doing these?
They're
Because
cool.
of the repertoire that's suggested,
Right.
right?
Okay. Cool. Um, I guess
Barrios.
Vals. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
One thing I wanna I want to say thank you for the recommendation to like play along with Jason Vio and the other recordings I'm listening to.
Yep.
It's been a lot of fun. I've started really
I
working
don't
at
know
it.
why people don't do that.
Yeah, I know. I feel I should have probably been doing it from the very beginning. But part of it, I think, is that future students will be able to benefit from this. I created, did you see the spreadsheet that I made? Or, okay, so let me send you the link. It's false3.loops.jcpractices.com. I'm messaging it to you.
Okay.
And that's just going to forward to Google Sheets. And in this, have you ever used the website looptube.xyz?
No.
Oh, I found it and it's so awesome. So here I have like the major sections of the piece broken out like 10 to, or like 1 to 9, measures 1 to 9 is the intro,
Hmm.
10 to 32 is the A section the first time through, and then there's a repeat. And then each of these links opens up to YouTube, and it's the recording of Jason Vio's performance from the Naxo CD, uh, specifically already, looping that little segment.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and then you can also slow down the tempo, and it maintains the
Good.
pitch, which is super useful to practice. Too. So practicing at
Well,
50%.
what we had to do back in the day was if you had it on a DVD, a CD, all you could really do is convert that to cassette and then put it into a 4-track machine where you had a speed dial or a cassette where you could control the speed.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until like something like Audacity
Hmm.
or Logic came out where you could slow it down and play. But we're talking about a money investment, you know?
Yeah, and even with those, like I think it modifies the pitch, right?
You
Or is it?
can alter like with Audacity, which is free.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
or at least that functionality is still free. You can choose to keep the pitch and change the tempo
Okay, cool.
rather than just
So
slow it down.
great.
And that, yeah,
So
because that would be awful if you had to retune to it.
yeah, I did that with Capriccio Arabe, like months and months into
Hmm.
studying the piece. Later on, I was like, okay, I want to like really dissect and like study different performances and like compare one recording versus
Right.
another. So I bought the MP3s, loaded them up in Logic, which I barely know how to use,
Yep.
and then like spliced out those little segments. And then, that took a bunch of time. And now this time around, I was like, I wonder if there's a better way. And this website is awesome. Like
That's
it's so,
cool.
yeah. And then it's also shareable. Like I can
That's
edit
even
different
cooler.
parts of this. Yeah.
The thing about
So,
playing along with recordings, and
mhm,
there's a fundamental difference, is that because I started as a kid with no lessons and just teaching yourself as best you can, that's what you did. You
Right.
played along with records, even when it was god awful or they were playing so fast you couldn't keep up. Maybe you could play a measure with them. Maybe you could play 5 notes with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But beyond that, a lot of times as students, or more particularly as classical guitar students or classical musicians in general, we don't play along with recordings the same way like a jazz player does.
Yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
that's a big loss because by just trying to, let's say it's a piece where we can play with it, all right? It's not like
Mm-hmm.
Chacon or, Fourth Flute Suite, or it's something that, hey, we can play this.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
now we can play it with a world-class player.
Mm-hmm.
And you copy every articulation. You try to get everything just like that.
Mm-hmm.
Not forever,
Yeah.
but it's like you're getting a lesson with them
Right.
about how they felt about that piece at that point in time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like Manuel recorded the Bach suites 25 years ago. He doesn't feel that way about them now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
He may feel different about the sonatas. He may feel different about them 25 years later.
Uh-huh.
But at least you know what he thought about him back then, and certainly not a bad thing to be able to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then on a
Yeah.
personal level, the fact that you can kind of sit there and go, dude, I just played along with Jason or Manuel or John Williams. It's a pretty good feeling.
It's pretty fun. Yeah. And it's cool to like, especially now that like these little specific segments, including like a single measure that like one little fast scale or something.
Yeah.
It's cool to just open that up across 3 or 4 different performances and
Oh yeah.
compare like here. I don't know. It's very
When you get to hear what they're all doing the same, and then where they're really taking some major liberties
yeah.
between these different recordings. That's good. Thank you for sending that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll continue building that out for this piece and then all the other RCM ones. Okay, let me pull up this music. I still don't have it on the iPad, so I'll have page turns. But yeah, I got my first, I got take 1 recorded and uploaded of this one, which feels good. I've been uploading these like more or less weekly videos. Okay, I'm ready whenever you are.
Will you be highly offended if we stop there?
Not at all. Yeah.
Good. Hey, that's a lot of progress, man. Very good. The reason I'm stopping is because now it's all material that you've done, and there's just a couple of things in that material, but I want to focus more on the new stuff in the C section because we didn't get to that the last time. Good.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, one of the things that I don't know if you're doing
Mhm.
in a piece like this, or if it was only in something like as big as the chaconne or bigger pieces. Any arpeggio in here, any scale in here, immediately is going to show up in my technique workout, like for the day, right?
Yeah.
So as you're going through,
Right.
the scale in the beginning is come a long way, but that still should be part of like, all right, I've done my scales, I've done my tremolandos, I've done all this. Great. Now I'm going to do that measure.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to do that measure, and just list it out so that it always is acting as an excerpt from it.
Yeah. Okay.
Because that has come a long way. The other thing that I really like is measure 65, 6, and 7. That sounds pretty darn solid. I know you're not phrasing it the way you want yet, but it's solid, right? It rhythmically is very solid. The one you want to be careful of is 48 and 9,
Yeah,
right?
that one was rough.
Let's take just a quick peek at that and see what is it about that might be a little abnormal, you know? So what's the fingering you're using in a right hand there?
So I'm using thumb, thumb. Wait. I use M, M, A, M, I.
Great. It's that slide up that's causing you a little grief.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I would just slide it up. Don't even re-articulate it.
Don't re-articulate. Okay, I was just gonna ask that.
You can, and technically speaking, because there's a line but no slur ligature.
Yeah.
Yeah. However, I think that you have a little wiggle room, and depending on whose recording you're listening to, you may say, well, I really like the way they're going, right? When they're doing that. So if you hear that, they're just sliding up to the D, and don't re-articulate it until the downbeat.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. It's a little smoother, but it also, it seems to fit a little bit. There's a term that a friend of mine named Joe Mays used. Anytime you've got similar notes that are repeated like that, if you go, it can sound a little, what he said, clunky.
Yeah, yeah.
He called it clunquois just because it sounds fancier. But this, it's kind of like you're trying to say a lot in a very short period of time. This really seems to flow a little bit better. So that way, the right hand, P-P-I-M-A, slide, M, A-M-I, then you're home free.
Okay, so okay.
Or you can use whatever finger.
I've used I on the B, which might be part of what's tripping me up, I think.
Try P-P-I-M-A.
Yeah. And then what, like M on the...
Sure.
So yeah, that's like way uncomfortable.
The reason for that, there's nothing wrong if you did P-I-M-A-I. That's fine. However, it's right at the bottom where it says accelerando molto.
Okay.
If it was just in straight time, I just did your fingering. It's fine.
Yeah.
Right? However, if you have to be doing an accelerando in there, where's it going to happen? Right in here. Right?
Okay.
And so if we're take a little time on that first thumb node. And there's your cello rondo built in. Just like that.
Okay, yeah, that feels a lot better. I like that.
That way you get the expressive indication at the same time. The fingering seems to work a little bit better. And then this is fine. Just keep that the way it is. So this way now, as part of your arpeggio for the day, you've got... And now just... Right? So this way you've got this period of time where you're taking all the hard stuff from your pieces and working on them separately so we don't get bogged down like with two measures that are in our way.
Yeah.
And by the time you get to the piece, you may have had a real breakthrough. I think that, again, 65, 6, and 7 sounds real good, but its companion, when you have to do that in the first coda, boy,
that one wasn't great. You mean like in the third page or in the last page midway?
Yes.
I was gonna ask about that one because it feels really odd.
That's where we're gonna take a look right now. Is this whole transition? Okay. So here we've got a regular slur. Right? There are variations to this particular measure. Right? We've got that first one, but this is, we're going to break it up similar to the way we did that first lick. Right? That one.
Okay. Yeah.
We're going to break this one up into smaller nuggets too. So this, that is your first group. So just play those 5 notes. There you go. So it sounds pretty good, feels pretty easy, right?
Okay, yeah.
And then you get that cool blue note. Yeah. You see how smooth that is?
Yeah.
That's it. Now, you want to make sure... I'm doing M-I-P.
M-I-P?
Yep.
Oh,
yep.
Oh.
And then just a second thumb.
Okay, so second thumb.
Right. So if I'm going M, slur, I, M, slur, I, slur, M, I, P, P.
Okay.
Yeah. Then you get your... Right. Oh man, that was so much better. That's it. That's a great place to leave it so that you got it. Don't worry about shaping, phrasing, anything. Just stay with those groups for this week so that you have, and work on getting it a little bit faster. Right? That's it. That's great. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, this next bit, this transition back, this is where we got to pay some close attention to a few things, and don't let the speed of it be an issue right now. Right? We need to just make sure that we're getting to the place we need to get, how and where we want to. So I actually, this is going to be very, I can't remember if I gave you my fingerings for this. But I'm just going to be 3-2, open 3-2. That way I can maintain that finger. I don't have any shifting, nothing. Right.
Okay.
Right?
I like that.
Good. Take a breath, then 4, 2, 1, 4, 3.
Okay, you go to 3 and then.
Yeah. So this. The shift of the fourth finger down, or if you were going to go. I never liked the way that sounded, but this seemed to flow a little bit better. To use a closed E, this, that felt like I was just slamming things down a little too much. This seemed to feel a little bit better to me. There it is, good. Now here's where things are going to get a little different. So that was kind of nice in the pocket. Life's good. Right. So here. Yep. Now I'm going to slur one of them. That.
Yeah.
Or. So you can actually do A slur M-I-A if you want to. Yeah.
Yeah, that matches way better with the other slurs.
So the left hand fingering's pretty good. It's just I think having a slur there is a good thing. Mm-hmm. Same thing here. Slur. Now you're good. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
For the fingerings right hand, A slur M-I seems right. Always seem to work for me here is just to do A slur M-I chord. Yeah. See how there's a certain, like, immediately there's a flow to it that MI doesn't really give us. You know? Yeah. And this you handled very well. Right? We're going to start getting faster and doing the rallentando, but for right now, just keeping that. Don't worry about speeding up anything. When you have this transition, release the third finger fully. Right? Yeah, that way we get rid of this.
Yeah, okay.
Because I just put these bass strings on, which means, man, those things are going to be louder than hell, you know? So hold the second finger, let go of the third, now shift. Same thing, let go of one, move. Feels a little choppy at first, but if we're maintaining that second finger, now you have the building blocks, you know? And I remember, I mean, it was a long time ago when I played this, but I remember that being a real kind of deal breaker. Like, that was hard to get that to be clean and expressive at the same time. That's already better.
Yeah.
Right? The only other thing that I want to bring up, because again, we've been working on this kind of in sections over the time, but just to go back really quick is watch your rhythm in 49.
Okay.
Make sure that quarter note G at the end of 49 is actually a quarter note.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
It's easy to jump off it a little bit too fast. So that you have that 1, 2, and 3, and 1, and 2, and 3, and if it's too soon,
yeah,
we lose the impact of beat 1. Just like that. You got it. Yeah.
Right.
That's it. The only other spot I want to work on with you today, because we just did all that new material, is to go back and look on the first page. There's one phrase that's still a little elusive, and it's 25, essentially that line, 25 through 31. It's pretty good, but it's not as good and smooth as the rest of everything that's around it. Because you're really doing this great. You got all that going on, right? So now if we start in 25, right? So let's maybe go back a little bit, start at maybe 18.
Okay.
And then I'll stop you as we're going. There you go. See, now that I put you on the spot, you do it great. So that may be a little bit of just hit or miss. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just like, that sounds a lot better than what you had done before where there were some breaks. Make sure that you're phrasing, taking a breath between 25 and 26. I know that there's so many common tones that it's easy to kind of see it as a continuation. Yes. Dee-da-dee-dum.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like some memory problems, really.
Okay.
Like,
Well, as soon as it starts getting chromatic, that's when the memory is going to have a little bit more of a difficult time, depending on what's happening, you know? So, yeah, as you're coming down off of that... Then you're home free. Cool.
Yeah.
Good. If you give me, I know we're a little bit over 4. Just give me 2 minutes. I'll be right back, and then we can see if there's anything in the chat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. I'll be
so much.
right back.
I'm also gonna get some water. Super.
Okay. And then we'll see if there's anything in the chat, and we'll.
Yeah. Wrap it up. Sounds good. I'm also just gonna grab some water super quick. Be right back. Okay, y'all, that was so much fun. Let's pull up. How am I gonna find chat? Whoa, Let's see. Create. Go live. Hopefully we're live. Hopefully there wasn't technical problems this time around. All right, we had some chat. We have some people watching. 9 concurrent viewers. That might be a record for my channel. Cool. Yeah, we do have a few people. Awesome. So, this is so meticulous. Loving it, honestly. This is great feedback. I'm really enjoying listening. Heck yeah. Cool. Yeah, of course. Thank you for watching, Heather. It's great. It's great that you were able to make it. Yeah, we've got all the regulars here. Who's the composer of this piece? This piece is by Agustin Barrios. Yeah, I don't think we have too many questions. Does anybody have any questions for either of us real quick before anything? We've got a lot of really nice comments. Like,
oh, that's good.
Really, yeah.
That's good.
People seem to have really
That's never a
enjoyed it.
bad thing.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Hey, 10 concurrent viewers. I think that's a record for me.
Good.
Yeah, let's see. Just, yeah, let's see. I don't think that there's any specific questions anybody has. Everyone's just saying that they really enjoyed watching it. Yeah, this has been awesome. This is great feedback. I'm really enjoying listening. Loving it, honestly, says Beltane. Cool. All right. Well, yeah, there's no specific questions, I don't think. Just
Okay.
a lot of the regulars who hang out in the live streams.
Well, since we're going to be doing it, sorry, that's
Yeah.
the fire alarm telling me I need a new battery, I think. Because we're going to be doing this again, if there are any questions that anybody has, kind of write them down and get ready for the next one whenever John says that's when we're going to be doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds awesome. Yeah, if you'd like to do this again, I would love to.
Like I said, let's do one a month. We'll do one in July and then one in August and see how everything works out. So if anybody does have questions, write them down and put them in the chat window next month.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely. And of course, shameless plug, Chris Ladd is available for lessons if anybody is looking for an amazing, amazing teacher. And yeah, yeah, it's really been a lot of fun working together.
Great.
Over
Well,
the
thank
last
you for asking me to do this, and I'll see you
Yeah.
offline next Monday.
Awesome. Yeah.
All
Yeah, I
right.
think I'll make it to your place probably
Okay.
next Monday, if that works.
That works. All right. Bye, everybody.
Cool.
Bye, John. Have a good week.
Yeah, yeah, you too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks for doing this. Bye. Okay, and yeah, I could practice, or I think maybe we'll just leave it there. Why don't I play another piece just to finish this stream, just to have a little bit more music. Thanks everybody for tuning in. This was super fun. I hope you all enjoyed it. It looks like you all did. So, yeah, only question was that who was the composer, and the composer is Agustin Barrios. It's a wonderful piece. Let's play one more thing just to finish stream. Why don't we do Recuerdos? Or yeah, let's do a hobbyist rough version of Recuerdos, and we'll that'll wrap it up. Or no, let's do something better. Let's do Julia Florida. Thank you all. Thank you all for watching, for hanging out. I stream my practice sessions almost every night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Hope to see you again. Thanks for watching, and leave a comment below if anybody sees this after the fact or here. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit all the buttons. Yeah, really appreciate having you all here. Well played, beautiful. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. All right, have an awesome